If you've ever watched the new Ghostbusters movie, Snatched, Pitch Perfect 3, or The Hustle, or maybe Avengers or Black Panther, then you have definitely seen today's guest in a film before, because her name is Meredith Richardson. She's a new friend of mine, and she has been a professional stuntwoman for the past decade of her life. And now she currently is a recurring stunt double for Amy Schumer, Rebel Wilson, Kate McKinnon, and Jillian Bell. And I honestly could not think of a better person to talk about how to be fearless than this woman. She has done literally countless numbers of stunts and has 80 professional film credits to her name. Seriously, check her IMDb account if you don't believe me. This is a riveting conversation, and we hear a ton of incredible stories along the way. So, hey, I'm out. We're about to get into this episode. Here is my conversation with Meredith Richardson on how to be fearless. All right, guys, welcome back to another Accidentally Intentional podcast episode, and I am super excited for today's guest because she is a certified badass, and her name is Meredith Richardson, aka Bama Stunts. Meredith, you and I just hung out, spent the weekend together in Atlanta, but one of the things that bond us is that we do stunts, although you are on a completely different level and you are a stunt double to a lot of stars out there. And so today I want to talk about the topic of how to be fearless. And I honestly couldn't think of a better person to have on than you because of the nature of what you do. And to kind of give my own personal piece of this, I have the tattoo, this tattoo right here. It says fearless. But you see, for me, it's not about being fearless because I'm not there yet. It's just about fearing a little bit less. So I kind of want to gear the conversation towards that today because you are a professional stunt woman. You toss your body all over the place, and what people are seeing in the movies, that's a real body doing all that. So I'm ready to just dig into this. I know that you have done a podcast episode before. It's called the Stunt Pod, and if anyone was to listen to it, it's like a 2-hour episode, but super amazing. So I kind of want to pick up where they left off because it shares a lot of your story and how you got into stunts. And a big theme for you is that you actually really live fearlessly in so many different ways, not only physically, but when it comes to going after a dream, you're fearless. Any relationship is fearless. You just this is a theme for you. And so here's what I know to start is that you were a gymnast growing up. That's your background. And you were like, I want to be a stunt woman. Obviously, we're fast forwarding past a lot, and you realize that needs to take you to New Orleans, which is where a lot of stunts are happening. And then boom, you become a stunt woman. But here's where I kind of want to pause and start this conversation is because you suddenly get into stunts just by being in New Orleans. But that alone, moving to a completely unknown place, having no connections to getting to be in the industry you've always dreamed of. Can you tell me a little bit about how that happened?
Well, I didn't just move to New Orleans and immediately become a stunt woman. I was in college at University of Alabama, and I was 20, and I thought, I wonder if this is just a dream job or if I could actually do this, because people would say, what are you studying in school? And I'd say, oh, it doesn't matter. I'm going to be a stunt woman one day. I just got to figure it out. So I was 20. The classes are starting to get hard. I'm not good at school. And I'm like, man, I really want to see if I can do this. And so I researched it, and I found out the film industry was in New Orleans at the time, way bigger than Atlanta, and a lot was filming there. So I'm like, that's not that far. That's only 4 hours away. So I drove back and forth for 6 months from Tuscaloosa to New Orleans. I was working 3 jobs and was a full-time student at Bama. And then when I had even a day off, I would just drive down there because I started meeting people. And so I found out when they had fight training courses or when they had open gyms at the gymnastics gym and, just random things like that. And I'd say, y'all just let me know and I'll be here. And so I built a very small community of people who I'm sure they'll tell you, because I know they didn't believe me at first, but I just kept showing up. And I was like, cute little Southern girl from Alabama, I want to be a stunt woman. They're like, yeah, okay, we hear this all the time. Because you do hear that all the time. Like, I want to do stunts. And then they usually fall off. But I didn't fall back. I just kept pestering them and showing up. And they're like, wow, she's actually serious. So I finished going back and forth for that 6 months and said, I have to go do this. This is where my heart is. I'm good at this and I have to go. So within 2 months, I dropped out of college, finished my exams, got all A's and B's, moved, found a house on Craigslist, and utilized those relationships I had made in those 6 months. I didn't know them very well, but it was to the point where they're like, okay, we see that you're serious about this. So if you move here, we'll help you out.
Mm-hmm.
And they became like family to me. So we would train together every day, go to every meal together. I mean, I'm so grateful I had them. So anyways, that was kind of how I got into it, because of that 6 months driving back and forth, proving, y'all, I'm serious about this.
Yeah. So you've been in the industry for 10 years. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I'm 30 and I was 20 when all that happened. I moved to New Orleans right when I turned 21. So
Okay.
when I was 20 is when I really started pursuing it.
That's awesome.
So
And how many stunt credits do you have now today?
it's 80 something.
That's
So
amazing. I mean, you're doing a different stunt in every movie, right? So a question that a lot of people would ask is, what's the craziest stunt you've ever done?
I think the two most, not uncomfortable or scary, because I don't like either one of those, because if I was legit scared,
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't do something.
Mm-hmm.
But the two where I'm like, this is so abnormal and just out of my comfort zone, but I know they trust me to do it, was a full fire burn on a show. So being fully engulfed in flames. And it's one of those where it's just like, this is so unnatural to just have to step. I just engulfed myself into this stuff that's going to make me catch on fire. And then I'm going to fully ignite myself on fire.
Mm-hmm.
And then trust that they're going to put me out. And what people don't realize is, so for that one, we don't just have on like a fire suit.
Mm-hmm.
We have on a layer of like spandex, which you would dip in fireproof gel,
Mm-hmm.
and then 2 layers of clothing dipped in fireproof gel, and then one more layer of clothing over that will ignite. That they put the liquid that they
Mm-hmm.
spray on you is what ignites in
Gotcha.
flames. And then we put fireproof gel on our eyelashes, on our hair, just anything that might catch fire. And we'll do that when we're near big explosions and stuff too, just in case they're a little bigger than we think or whatever. So
yeah,
I'd say just the mentality of I am about to be fully caught on fire right now is it's just a very odd feeling that most people don't have in their lifetime. But I wasn't scared and I wasn't even really nervous. It was just and I can't ever fully explain what it felt like,
mm-hmm.
but I felt so peaceful when I was fully on fire. It was like I couldn't get to anything around me and nothing around me could get to me. It was a lake and it was fully caught on fire, and it was a ramp. And so I had to walk slowly down the ramp and then slowly put myself out. But the flames were only supposed to be like 6 to 8 feet high, and they were over 20. They were way higher than we thought. But there were 5 of us and we couldn't see the fire. We just knew to start walking when you saw a light. When I was on fire and engulfed fully in the flames, it was just a really crazy, peaceful feeling that I didn't expect, because you couldn't hear anything going around you. There's a full film crew around and you can't see anything, you can't feel anything around you. I mean, you start to get warm for sure towards the end because it's burning through the clothes. So you just want to get put out before it gets to your skin.
Okay, so that's insane. And you know that like the average person's not like, I feel peace right now when I'm lighting my body on fire. And I think
I would say that's like the craziest one, just because it's so out of the ordinary. That and crashing a $120,000 car into a brick wall was a little like, this isn't something people do every day.
So this is what I want to unpack, because this is not a normal mindset that you have. Yes, you're a gymnast, so you can trust your body, but these are things where you are putting your trust, your life fully in someone else's hands or a machine's hands is essentially what's happening between the car and the fire thing. So what do you think it is that makes you different than the average person's mind to be able to just know, hey, you know what? I'm going to go for it and it's going to be okay. I'm going to be fine. Like, because that is literally like a hurdle for me. Like, I just can't imagine being like, yeah, light me up. And just be like, I'll be fine. So I want to unpack it. Like, what do you think's going on with you and your mindset?
I was always that gymnast too. My coaches right now just say, this is literally the perfect job for you, because I just always knew I'm going to be okay. And I didn't want to be babied. I didn't want to be spotted. I didn't want to have a ton of mats. I just wanted to go for it. I think you always, when you do something that you've never done before, I had done little car crashes before that, little fender bender type. I had done little fire burns training, my arm would be on fire or like a piece of my back.
Yeah.
But that's very different,
Yeah.
and especially with all the cameras around and crew and everything, and just having faith also in the people that hired me, them believing that I could do it. Helped me believe that I could do it, because I had the mindset of, I'm here for a reason. And if they didn't think that I could do it, they wouldn't have me here. And so that kind of gives me that extra push. With the fire burn, I just prayed, protect me. Sometimes with stunts on the first one, you don't always know what to expect.
Yeah.
So it's not that bad. But the third, fourth, fifth ones are when you're really tested, because you know what to expect on the next one. I remember after the fire burn, after the first one, I burned the tip of my nose, I burned my foot, and I think that's all I burned, but like somebody burned their eyelashes off, and like all of us got burned a little bit. And so then you're like, oh, wait a second, we're going to sit back down to get gelled back up to go do that again. And that's where you have to be strong, because the first one is like adrenaline's going, whatever. Yeah. But then you're like, oh, okay, well now I know what to expect. Before I would go do a beam routine, my coaches would say, go stand in the corner, close your eyes and picture it a few times and really get focused. So that's usually what I do right before a stunt. I think really just staying in your zone and not letting all the craziness around you, the producer saying, come on, we got to hurry up, we're wasting money. And then the director saying, oh no, I wanted it like this. And the stunt coordinator saying, are you good? Okay, we got to do blah, blah, blah. All that stuff. Just staying in that zone, which is hard for me because I'm ADD. But I think just being a gymnast helps so much, because I'm able to get in that zone and think, I'm here for a reason. Let me picture what I'm doing. I'm going to be okay. I'll look back on this tomorrow. You know what I mean?
So a lot of visualization, it sounds like, is super important for you. And I think that's an interesting piece you brought up as almost that gift of blind faith, like doing it the first time, because you literally have no idea what it's going to feel like, what's going to look like, anything like that. And then every time thereafter, you're a little bit more insane, because you keep going back to it after your mind is like, going. Yeah. So I kind of want to pick that apart, but I guess I want to first touch on the part where you said, I always knew I was going to be okay. Like, even as a gymnast, because quite frankly, I don't think that's a normal mindset. So why did you always know that you were going to be okay?
Maybe because I got hurt so much.
Okay.
And I can't count how many bones I've broken. I can't count. I mean, I've had 10 surgeries, but
wow,
don't know how many ligaments I've torn. And, just I always came back from it. And I'm kind of glad. And let me just start off. God just granted me with an amazing pain tolerance that is just abnormal. So things that are not normal that I should be feeling, I don't feel. Now I feel pain, but it just doesn't reach my brain, I don't think, the way that it reaches other people's brains. I'm so grateful that I've been blessed to be able to calm my mind when I need to. Yeah. And I think just having that mentality of whatever happens, we're going to get through it.
Yeah. I like that you said that you just, like, you admitted, like, well, because I've been hurt so many times before, because I think that's the difference, right? Is because so many people could be like, dude, I always get hurt. And you're like, no, I've always gotten through it. Because my follow-up question was going to be, is there ever a time when you weren't okay? And you're like, yeah, all the time. But it was just temporary, because I ended up in the long term being okay. Just in the short term, I wasn't. So
Yeah.
I love that difference in perspective.
I don't remember ever crying after an injury.
Wow.
Like my entire life. The only time I remember crying is when I exploded my ankle in gymnastics and had to have it reconstructed, and I cried because I couldn't go to nationals.
Jeez.
So I knew that immediately that it was blown, and I only cried because I couldn't go to nationals and my season was over. So I think that just kind of is a perfect depiction of how I try to look at it. You know, it's like, this body is gonna heal. And I do, because of certain things that have happened, I have a different mindset a little bit, but overall, I'm just grateful that in a way I have childlike faith.
Come on.
And I'm like, you know what? I don't have all the answers. I don't know the outcome of this, but it's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
I literally, that's my response to everything, is it's all gonna be okay. We're gonna, I try to picture myself a few years from now looking back at this moment and remembering, oh wow, that was really hard, but I made it through. Wow. And we're trying to remember times in my life where I felt like this is really hard, and I look back and I can easily find good out of it, and look now and I'm okay.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely. I wanted to talk about kind of John next, and to give people context so that you don't have to say it. You lost a friend a couple years ago who was also a stunt performer. And it was a very close friend, a friend that you had trained with, correct? And
he's one of the ones I was talking about in New Orleans. That was
gotcha.
like, if you move here, we'll help you out. I believe in you like a big brother.
So one of your biggest champions when it comes to stunts actually lost his life doing a stunt. And I want to address this, because what people don't realize is that there literally are lives on the line doing stunts in movies. Like, people are actually not risking their bodies alone. Fully, their lives are at stake when they're doing stunts, which would then beg the question for some people, then why are you doing this? Why? You are literally insane. Why are you risking your body like this? So I want to know what the impact of John's passing did to you, and why you are still so adamant and passionate about stunts today.
That's a very loaded question. It's affected my life in a lot of ways. I was very, very closely related to the situation. They called me to get his mom's phone number. So I was with them on life support for 5 days, all of that. So it was very, very, very tough time. And I'm thankful that I went back to work, because I was already on a movie and then in New York, and then went straight to one in Boston, and then straight to one in London, Spain, and then just literally kept going until the pandemic. And so that was about 3 years of thankfully nonstop work.
Wow.
Which was good, but I never was able to grieve. Like, they flew me back to New York in between taking him off life support and his funeral. So I literally didn't have any time to process what happened, to grieve, nothing. I didn't realize the toll it was taking on me, because I already mentally had prepared for these movies coming up back to back. And I'm glad that I immediately had to get back into it, because I don't know if I would have quit. I don't know. I thought about it a lot, but I didn't have the opportunity to, because I already had these jobs lined up. And so I obviously knew the significance of what I was doing, but I kind of, because being a gymnast, I'm really good at sucking it up. Yeah. At night was the hardest. When I was still at work, fine. And I had a lot of moments where it was very hard for me. Like when we were in Spain, I got to do flyboarding in the movie The Hustle, and that's literally what me and John used to do all the time. And that was our activity we found. Like, it was our thing. And because there's not a lot of outdoor stuff to do in New Orleans, and so we found that we're like, what if we could ever do this in a movie one day? Wow. And then literally the movie right after he passed away, I got to do it in Majorca, Spain, in the
Wow.
water, and it was
Wow.
just like surreal. Thankfully, I made it through all the shows.
Mm-hmm.
Little bumps and bruises, obviously, here and there, but
Which aren't actually little bumps and bruises. Let me just say that what she's talking about is like bumps and bruises to you is not bumps and bruises to a normal person. So keep going.
True. Okay, yeah, you're right. Little bumps and bruises to me.
Mm-hmm.
But I made it out okay, basically.
Mm-hmm.
There obviously were moments for several reasons where I would say, why am I still doing this? But I know John would want me to keep going. But then when the pandemic hit, I was like, still for the first time since it happened, and really had to process it all. And I not only have had John pass away, one of my very, very, very good friends in the business had a traumatic brain injury on a show, and now he hasn't been into REM sleep for like over a year. Another good friend of mine, she got a traumatic brain injury, broke her neck, ended her stunt career doing a stunt that I was supposed to do. But doubling Kate McKinnon, who I double several times, but they ended up not wanting to fly me out and just used a local. And she was a college gymnast, so like very good stunt woman. So I just really and all of this kind of happened back to back to back, and I was just like, whoa. And there's so many things that happen in stunts where the media and people just don't hear about it. It gets swept under the rug, and I just know that it would not be right for me to walk away. And what keeps me in it is knowing that I know I'm supposed to be here. I'm here for a reason. People ask me, what's your favorite part about being a stunt woman? And it's not because I'm in movies. I don't care about being in movies. I don't care about meeting celebrities. I like being a light in such a dark world.
Come on.
So I love being a light in a dark world. I love getting to travel, and I love getting to meet people from everywhere, because I'm from Alabama and not many people come there and not many people leave. So it gives me opportunity to meet people. So that keeps me in it, and just knowing that through all of my wisdom and knowledge from what I've experienced and seen firsthand, I'm going to be able to help so many people and coordinate. And just honestly, now I'm just super careful about the jobs that I take and who I work for. And I'm not scared to stand up for myself, and want to encourage other people to not be scared to stand up for themselves, and just trying to get rid of the old cowboy way of doing it. Obviously, bumps and bruises, broken bones, whatever, are gonna happen, and accidents happen, yes, but there's so many times I've been on set where I'm like, there's a better way. There's a better way.
Yeah. From a safety standpoint, you're talking about.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. And just to clarify, because you said coordinate, just to people that don't know, a stunt coordinator is the person that is involved with either choreography or just making sure the safety is involved in stunts. Thank you for sharing that, because I think it's really cool because you had that experience with John, and part of it's like, I'm so passionate about it, but it's partially because of him. Like he changed your life, and now you're like, of course I have to do this, because I know that he's my guy and he would want me to keep going. So I think that's really cool. I know that you had said earlier that, if people believed in you enough to hire you for the job, then you're like, I have to believe in myself too. But I guess I kind of want to ask, let's speak to the person who feels like nobody believes in them. What then? How have you been able to navigate that, which could be a fear of what other people think about you? I mean, from the very beginning, when you started stunts, people didn't believe that you actually were going to make a career out of it. So how do you think you navigated that mindset or created that self-belief that has helped sustain you?
Going back to gymnastics, you got to believe in yourself, because those coaches are tough and they're not the most encouraging, and it's a constant competition with your teammates and other people. So there's got to be some self-belief, or you're never going to make it as a gymnast. Also, this was not an overnight thing. You got to remember, I've been in it for 10 years
Mm-hmm.
and people did not believe in me.
Mm.
Literally, I got my first job, not my first day on a TV show, but my first movie because I went and played volleyball with the stunt team because one of my friends was on the movie already. And literally got a call. I went bowling with him and I played beach volleyball. And I literally was at home visiting my family and got a phone call saying, "We like you, kid. You want to come work with Tom Cruise and Morgan Freeman for a couple weeks?" And I was like, "Yes." So, I mean, that got me on that set. And then living in New Orleans helped me get a day here and there on random shows. And like my boss on Jurassic World 9 years ago just hired me in Atlanta a few weeks ago.
Wow.
So it's like, and the stunt I did a couple weeks ago was very different than the one I did 9 years ago,
Yeah.
you know? But honestly, for me, I would get frustrated because I'm like, I know I can do this. I know I could do what they're asking that person to do. Why won't they give me the opportunity to prove myself?
Yeah.
But looking back, I wasn't ready to be put in that spot at the very beginning. I was a good gymnast and I was tough, you know, but there's just being good takes time and knowledge takes time and perfecting a craft takes time. And I'm thankful now that I wasn't thrown into those spots before I was ready. It wasn't until 4 years in that I got the job on Ghostbusters. And
which is the moment that changed your career, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
It changed it because I was there for the whole movie. I was there for 4 months. I was on location. There's obviously 4 main stunt doubles. I was 10 years younger than all of them. I was the only one not out of LA. And it was just a huge moment for me. Little things I had to learn, like not to smile during a previs because I was having so much fun. Like little stuff like that. But overall, the action, the wire work, I was like, I can hang. It was really cool because people make you feel like if you're not out of LA, they're not going to fly you out. You're not going to be respected. And so I believe that. I was like, they're on a different level than me, which is somewhat true. It depends on the situation. But overall, it was just a really cool moment because it took my brain to another level too, because I was like, I'm here, I'm hanging with them. And this is what I want to do now. I want to be on full runs of movies now because I get to create from the beginning to the end and be involved in all of it and be challenged every day. And that really helped boost my confidence, my self-confidence, because I'm like, I can do this. So then that's when I decided to move to Atlanta because it was either Atlanta, LA, or New York. And I thought, and it actually wasn't that big in Atlanta yet, but I just thought I want to be somewhere where I'm happy and I want to live. So I'm Southern. I want to stay in the South as long as I can. So I moved to Atlanta and then I just really pursued what I wanted my career to look like. And looking back, I'm glad it took as long as it did. And I didn't get thrown into something before I was ready, even though it was frustrating at times.
Sure.
So
no, so I love that. So it seems like kind of the theme for this is if anybody else doesn't believe in you, then just give yourself the gift of trying it. And
just try it. You will really surprise yourself.
And you'll believe in yourself after giving yourself adequate amount of time to just keep going after it. I love that.
And you'll never look back and say, oh, I didn't go for it. I didn't try my hardest.
Yes.
You say, well, I did. I gave it my best.
I love that you said that you appreciate the direction your career has taken, because I think you actually have a pretty unique career for people in the stunt industry, because you actually have a very niche kind of sector in which you work, like certain actresses that you work with. Let me just preface this by saying, if in case people don't know, the stunt industry is extremely cutthroat. People can be extremely demeaning, demoralizing, and quite frankly, there are instances where they can just cut you down because of lack of experience, etc. And
Meredith, rip your headshot up, call you all the bad things. Yeah.
And here's somebody, Meredith, who has literally spent the past 10 years building her own very unique career and skill set, in which you now consistently get work because of the actresses that you work with. And that is rare. And I want you to articulate why what you have done is so rare and how you have found your niche in such a huge industry.
I am a gymnast and I have a lot of muscle. So I have always been short and stocky and really strong. And when I got into stunts, and let me just preface this with, we started getting our body fat tested at 11. So always had body image things.
Wow.
But when I got into stunts, I was told by a few people, if you don't lose 20 pounds, you'll never work. And so I took that literally because that's what I wanted to do. I want to do stunts. These are people who are doing it. I need to listen to them.
Yeah.
So I did everything I could to get really small. And I remember, well, John, actually, right before Ghostbusters, I had lost a good amount to go double Kate McKinnon because we hadn't seen her in person and didn't know. We're just shaped different. And like we wear the same size clothes-ish, but we're just shaped different. And going out there and John saying, I don't know what you're doing, but stop. Like something's off. It's just a movie kind of thing. Because I was running 5 miles in the morning, 100% humidity, 100 degrees outside, then going to hot yoga and only eating a banana, and then not able to do kicks across the gymnastics floor because I was so weak. Looking at how miserable I was doing that, and it wasn't fully necessary either, because once I got there and realized we were in the Ghostbusters suit, I was fine. I remember Kate invited my friend Lucy and I to go to SNL in New York. So we went, and I remember walking past a poster of Amy Schumer, and I just looked at Lucy and I was like, Lucy, take a picture of me with this poster. And she went, why? And I was like, because I'm going to double her one day. And she was like, okay. And then literally a year later, I was in Hawaii doubling Amy Schumer. And it was because a producer on Ghostbusters was like, yeah, I'm headed to Hawaii right after this. And I really like the work that you did on this. And I'm headed to Hawaii to do a movie with Amy Schumer. And I want you to come double her. So that's how I got that. And so I was really excited to go do that with Amy. And while I was there, I was like, she's just so different from, I loved working with Kate. Nothing against Kate. Loved her. This movie was just a very different experience than Ghostbusters because it was a comedy and there was very different action. Instead of fighting ghosts all the time, it was like tripping and face planting and falling and, you know, just different things. And I just remember thinking, even more than Ghostbusters, like, I want to do more stuff like this. I'm really enjoying this a lot. And I'm enjoying not having to starve myself. Because I was close, like, Amy's normal. She's normal to talk to. She's not trying to starve herself. She's just normal. So, and I was like, I want to be around this more.
Yeah. So just to clarify, so while people are listening, you're essentially saying that you realize that your niche could be that you start doubling people who don't need to look like skinny rails and are unhealthy, because your body is muscular and healthy. So you're like, who can I double? And that's what you're saying. You found this kind of trajectory.
Yeah, but not even normal as her size, which she looks more like the average person. Size-wise and just she doesn't try to be something she's not. And doesn't try to fit in a box that Hollywood's telling her to be in. And I really respected that about her. And it was just really cool to be around. Because I was always told, if you want to be successful in Hollywood, you have to be this. You have to, and I remember thinking, I get along better so much with these comedians than I do with these superheroes.
Mm.
Like, this is
Wow.
way more my personality. Like,
Hmm.
I don't want to go fight and kill people all the time. I like laughing on set. I get along with the comedians a lot better. My
Yeah.
personality fits in this world a lot better. So I really like this. And I really like not feeling like I have to starve myself.
Hmm.
And just I felt like I could be me more. Not
Mm.
that I am not me anywhere else, but I felt like people are trying to change me.
Yes.
And I didn't like that. And so in the comedy world, I was just kind of like, oh, I can freely be myself
Hmm.
and personality wise, and I can feel healthy. And I really like this. And then I got Pitch Perfect 3 with Rebel Wilson, and it was the same kind of thing where I
Mm.
was like, it's the same. We did have some fun fights on that one, and but I was like, even though I'm on these comedies, I'm still doing legit stunts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I'm actually getting more beat up on this comedy and this little this little music about a cappella singers, getting more beat up on this than I did on Marvel stuff, you know?
Yeah.
So and I get to be more creative with the comedies too. So and then with Jillian Bell also from 22 Jump Street, I was able to double her again on something else. So
Mm.
they were just all like normal sized blonde comedians who just all were not scared to be themselves. And
Mm.
because I'm around them for the whole time, and I've done the most with Rebel, so I'll just speak on her for instance. Like, our friendship is just so genuine, and we get to be real with each other. And like on The Hustle, I remember getting to just on the parkour scene where we're teaching Anne Hathaway how to do parkour. Like, I got to improv with her and be so silly and just, Rebel would be like, okay, do it a couple ways that you would think I would do it, or that would be funny, or the
Yeah.
director would be like, hey, just give us a couple options. So just through that, I really saw that I was more appreciated and respected, and just felt like I could fully be myself and not have to feel like I had to fit in this Hollywood bubble
Yeah.
when I was doing comedies.
And as a result, now you have a career because of it, because you didn't
Double and
listen.
normal size blonde
Yeah.
comedians.
Yeah. Because you
I'm
didn't
like,
listen to the
oh, it's a
people. Yeah.
niche. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
I used to get calls saying, hey, I hear you're the largest stunt woman on the East Coast. Like, literally, somebody called me and said that. And I was like, cool, before I started doing that. And then
Mm.
even after, I was doubling Kate McKinnon on a movie, and the coordinator, he said something about, did everybody get lunch? I know Meredith did, or
Mm.
I didn't make, even if I jumped on that, I wouldn't make the net go down that much, or hey, Cookie Monster, just stuff like that. And
Mm.
I finally was like, whatever I've been doing has been working. Do you really think I'm fat? And he was like, well, no, you're just limiting your options. And I was like, no, I'm not. My career is just fine, and I get to be myself. So stop calling me that. So
And
I think
again,
I think
you're just muscular is literally what the deal is. Like, just to give people an understanding, if you're watching this, like, Meredith is a freaking gymnast, muscular freak. Okay. So like, this is what these people are saying to her. It's just nonsensical. Keep going.
so yeah, I'm just strong. But anyways, to sum that all up, I just was like, I want to be in an environment where I'm happy and I get to be myself and be creative and
Yeah.
use my skills and be a light to people. And it's just so cool having these genuine relationships with people and
Yeah.
being their friend first.
I love that.
Yeah.
I want
It's a
to
very
ask.
unique situation.
Yeah, definitely. So I want to ask two more kind of questions, and I want you to speak to two different types of people. So the first question I want you to speak to is someone who's listening to this right now, and the moment you started talking about body image issues, they're like, yeah, that's me. And quite frankly, I don't like my body right now. Like, imagine you're talking to that person. What kind of encouragement would you give them?
So I believe in God, and I love the verse that says you're fearfully and wonderfully made. I've had to fully rely on that.
Mm-hmm.
And I also want y'all to know that it is a constant battle.
Mm.
Even yesterday, I didn't want to eat dinner because somebody had made a comment where it triggered everything. And it was a small comment. about calories, but then it made me think about high school when I was counting them like crazy. And, being told by my coaches, oh, I've never seen an Olympian as big as you. Have you? No, I didn't think so. You're never going to make it. Like little stuff like that. It is a constant battle. Mainly because you have to eat every day. So you can't just stop. But I will say that clinging to your fearfully and wonderfully made really helps because we are so unique. And guess what? If I was super skinny, stick figure, like people were trying to make me become, one, I would break a lot more than I already do because I can take so many hits. And also, I wouldn't have the career that I have. And now I'm just so grateful that I'm so strong and built like this because now I know why I look like this and how I can utilize my size and my shape. And I was thick and strong before it was cool. I know it's cool now, like on Instagram, models and thick and fit and all that. No, that was me way before. You know what I mean? So now it's like I was it before it was cool. And now all that aside, I'm just so grateful that I am who I am because it has led me to the career that I have. And I do struggle with it, but I would say the main thing that has helped me overcome body image issues is a good support system, very encouraging people when it comes to that area. And also not having a scale in your house, and that's helped a lot. And just really focusing on loving yourself. And I'm still learning because I have a ton of them. But I would say what's helped with anything you're struggling with is opening up about it. Because I had an eating disorder since I was 11, and I literally didn't say it out loud to anyone till this year, and I'm 30.
Wow.
And same with the struggles with John. Like I'd say that's with anything that you're going through. I was always taught, suck it up, be tough, don't express your emotions, from being an athlete. And talking about things really helps, and it helps you not feel like you're trapped in this body that you don't like. Because now you're not just harboring all of those feelings in, you're talking about it, and then you can have people that encourage you. And I'm not talking about people saying, girl, you're not fat and you know it. Like, I'm not talking about that type of thing. Like, why do you feel like this? What do you think triggered that? What can we do? Do you want to do like a group workout twice a week? Here, I heard there's a great boxing gym. You want to go try it out with me? Or one of my best friends, she has the opposite problem. She's insecure about how thin she is. And so, because she can't gain weight. So we actually struggle with opposite things. I can't lose, she can't gain. So just being honest with each other. Her saying, oh, I feel really skinny in these leggings. Can I FaceTime you and tell me what you think? And I'd be like, girl, you look great. But if you don't like how you feel in them, let's try on a dress, or let's try some different socks and see if that helps, And just, I think being open and honest about it helps so much. And just trying to learn to love yourself and not being frustrated when it's hard. And that goes with anything. And I'm so guilty of it, but and understanding that almost everyone on this entire planet has some type of body image issues. Even the people with all the plastic surgery, because if they didn't have plastic surgery or before the plastic surgery, they clearly had them too. So everyone is struggling in some way with that. And talking about it makes you realize you're not alone in it.
That's a beautiful answer. Like, seriously, that's a great answer. It encompasses a whole lot of things in there. So thank you so much for that. And then the final thing, what's a piece of encouragement that you would give someone who feels crippled by fear no matter what kind of genre that fear is in their life, what is one piece of advice you would give to someone to help them learn to fear a little bit less?
I think it's kind of what I touched on earlier, trying to remember when you feared in the past
Mm,
and how that ended up.
mm,
If the fear crippled you to where you didn't go for something, how did that make you feel?
mm,
Or when you feared and then you went for it and it was successful and you had such a victory, how did that make you feel?
mhm,
Just remembering um, everything you've been through and how you've made it through, and just celebrating the times you feared and you still went for it
mm,
and it was successful. Because I think we a lot of times get stuck in the moment and get paralyzed with it, like you said. um Even with this last movie, I was terrified of that stunt. I almost didn't do it several times. I almost said I can't do this, especially with everything with John.
mm,
um but I wouldn't let myself be crippled with fear. I was
mm,
crippled sometimes, and sometimes I had to leave rehearsal early and just be like, "We'll work on it tomorrow." It was an interesting phenomenon for me because it wasn't something I was used to.
mm,
But I would say I'm so glad that I went through with it
mm,
and didn't cop out and say, "Oh, this is too much fear. I can't
mm,
do it." Because now I can look back and say, "I did that." And so now when I'm doubting something again, I can look back at that moment and think, "Remember how scared you were and
mm.
paralyzed and
Yeah.
thought there's no way I can do this?" And then I did it and it was successful, and just almost like the life high you get from it.
Mhm.
You just have to remember all those little details. Um,
Yeah.
and I mean, you can throw Bible verses at people all day long saying, "God says, don't fear."
Yeah.
Or you can say, "Oh, you got this." But singing how God's come through, how I've overcome things,
Mhm.
how I didn't know how I was going to pay the bills that month, and
Yeah.
yet this came through. Or I didn't know how I was going to break into the film industry. I didn't know anyone in it. I'm just a little girl from Alabama.
Mhm.
I was going to give it 3 months. And then look, you know what I mean? Just
Yes.
I'd say for anything, just go for it.
Mm.
And guess what? I hate when people look at me and say, "You're so lucky," because that's just not true.
Mm.
I'm very blessed that I was given this passion at such a young age, but I could have easily not gone for it. I could have easily said, "That's just a dream." I
Mm.
could have easily became a gymnastics coach
Yeah.
living in Alabama or even Atlanta and just been like, "Oh, that's a cool dream job." But you would be so shocked at how much you can accomplish if you just go for stuff and believe in yourself and don't give up,
Mhm.
because it's not easy. You think
Yeah.
my journey was easy becoming a stunt woman, professional stunt woman? Heck no. I wouldn't say any of it was easy. I would say that a lot of it was lonely,
Mhm.
a lot of it was challenging. I would talk to my friends in Alabama and be like, "Really? Why do I have to dream so big? Why do I have to have this mentality? Why can't I just be okay with being in Alabama and
Mm.
raising some kids and being a gymnastics coach or whatever?"
Yeah.
Um, but I'm just so glad that now I can inspire people to go for it, because it's not going to be easy, but it's so worth it. And now I can say I did it. And honestly, I just think about, say I'm on a rock in some water and I don't know which direction to go. And I'm just waiting for that next rock to kind of come in front of me. And I don't know
Mhm.
how I'm going to get there, or which direction it's going to be, but I just wait for that next rock and then I hop to that one. And that's just kind of how I live my life. I don't know what the next day is going to hold. I don't have a steady income.
Mm.
I don't know. That doesn't go away, you
Mm.
know?
Mhm.
But you just have to trust that you have this dream inside of you for a reason,
Mhm.
and just the possibilities are endless if you when you actually go for something. And when I say I went for it, I didn't have a backup plan. I did not have a side job. I
Yeah.
did not have a plan B. I had saved up $2,000 with my 2 jobs and full-time student at Alabama and didn't use that money. And I
Mm,
said, "I'm gonna live off these $2,000." And every day I'm not working on set, which I maybe worked once the first month, one
mm,
day.
yeah.
So, I don't know how I'm gonna provide for myself, but the only way I'm gonna do it is through stunts. So
Wow.
Imma work every single day, all day to network because we don't have agents or managers. I'm
Hmm.
gonna work every single day, all day, because this is what I know I'm supposed to be doing. So, hustling, networking, printing off resumes, training, whatever it is, every single day like I'm at work. It wasn't just a, "Oh, hopefully it's gonna happen." No, every single day. I was at every dinner somebody might be at, like,
Yeah.
everything. So it wasn't easy and it didn't just fall in my lap. And don't expect it to be like that.
Hmm.
But also, you can't give up
I love that.
because the reward is so much greater when you finally have a dream and go for it.
So true. No, that's a perfect way to end it. And Meredith, I think that's the thing that makes people love you is honestly just your mindset where most people say, I can't do it. You're asking a question instead. You're saying, why can't I do that? And you're like,
Hmm.
no, I have to prove it either way. I have to prove to myself I either can or I can't. And I'm going to go for can. So I just love that about you and how fearless you are and live your life because you inspire me. And I know that you're inspiring a lot of other people through this episode as well. So if people want to connect with you, where can they do so?
I'm really bad at the social media thing, but I'm on Instagram, Bama Stunts.
Meredith, seriously, so much. I love you. I love who you are and such an inspiration to so many. And thank you so much for being on the Accidentally Intentional podcast.
Yeah.
Instead of doing takeaways like I normally do and numbering them, I'm just going to hit you with some highlights that stood out to me in one-liners that Meredith dropped throughout the episode that really hit me. When she was talking about how believing in others, sometimes before they even believe in themselves, can literally be what changes the trajectory for them because somebody is able to visualize what it is, even if they can't see it for themselves. Hearing her just talk with such confidence and fully believing that she's going to be okay was just really powerful for me. In fact, my best friend often says to me when I'm feeling super panicky, she'll just be saying, hey, it is going to be okay. And that sounds so simple, but sometimes that's all I need. When she said, this body is going to heal, woo, I felt that. She's clearly so goal driven and such an achiever because she has that mindset that, hey, I want to use this opportunity to prove myself. And also how she was reflecting and how thankful she was to not be thrown into situations before she was ready. And I love that perspective as well because really there are blessings in everything, even if a door isn't open right away. It was so awesome to hear that she really wants to use her platform and her credibility in the stunt industry to just honestly be a light. And her response to the body image struggles, man, that was worth the price of admission right there. And that constant reflection that she has of reminding herself what direction she turned when she had fear in the past. Did she cower back or did she push forward anyways and remind herself to celebrate those moments where she pushed forward to prove that she can in fact do it? And just how she said, go for it, just with complete, honest sincerity and passion. I want to say, if maybe you've been looking for a sign, this could be it. Just hearing Meredith say, go for it. And lastly, just that different lens that Meredith has where most people would think, I can't do it. She actually thinks, why can't I do it? And uses it as an opportunity to prove. Whatever it is, whether she can or can't, she's at least going to try for that. And gosh, I just love that so much about her. So that's it for this episode, guys. Thanks so much for joining. Make sure to follow Meredith at Bama, as in Alabama, BAMA Stunts, and give her a shout out. Tell her how much you enjoyed this episode and that you're going to now fear a little bit less. All right, guys, we'll see you back here in 2 weeks. Love you. Let's go live boldly and fearlessly today.